Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Today we are going to talk about a new chapter, but still it is related with the chapter that we discussed earlier, which is the property, the mal. So we talked about the definition and classification of mal. We talked about the various types of mal and what are the consequences for every mal, for every kind of property. So now we are going to talk about something that that actually always comes together with the property, because when you buy something, it comes with the rights. It comes with your responsibility, because you cannot simply become the owner without having or holding the responsibility. For example, if you bought a car, definitely you need to keep it in the right place, and then definitely you have to use it. But when you use it, you actually cannot harm someone. You need to follow the protocols, the regulations that the road, for the road safety and everything. Also the car also, you have to do the maintenance, and you need to keep it safe so that it won't it won't be at risk, so people are not at risk. Similarly, it goes to any property. Let's say you bought a land, or you bought an apartment, or anything. For example, you bought a cattle. For example, you bought a cow or goat, but you have all the responsibility, because you need to feed them as well. It's not like I bought it, I don't have to feed it. It's not like that. You have to feed it, and then you need to give the proper security protection, and also you need to make sure it won't hurt anybody. So of course, whenever you have your owner of something, so it comes with a responsibility. This is what they say. um, Greater things comes with greater responsibility. Yeah. So today we are talking about two things. Most of the time it could be confusing you, so let me clarify before it starts confusing you. um, in Arabic, the word is actually haq or hukuk, right? So now in singular we talk about hukuk, sorry, haq. And then we have the word also in plural, we have the word hukuk. There is another word we call it for obligation, which is dain. But in Arabic, usually the word hukuk can be used for rights and also can be used for obligations. So now you might be asking me, what is the difference, sir? What is the difference between rights and obligations? Of course, there are differences. Rights are something that you are entitled, and obligations are something that you should make or you should give to others. So you need to understand this before we get into the class, otherwise the whole class will be confusing. So I repeat again, haq means, okay, I'll come back to the Arabic term. Let me finish the English one first. The rights is something that you are entitled. For example, if you are a child, you are entitled to receive a protection and also accommodation and also food and everything from your parent. So these are the rights. And what is obligation? The obligation is the parents. The parents are the one who supposed to give you the sustenance, give you the accommodation, give you the protection. So it is most of the time it's like a giving. So if you are the giving, you are the giver, then it is called obligation. And if you are receiving and you are the receiver, then it is actually rights. But when it comes to the word hukuk in Arabic, the word hukuk, if you look into the text, the nusus that we have, the sources, everything, all those textual sources, the word haq is a special word in Arabic because haq, the word can be used for the rights. At the same time, it also can be used for hukuk. Let's say that's the reason why the Arabic word is actually has a dual meaning. The people can understand the dual meaning depending on what preposition comes after the word. For example, haqqun li means I entailed the rights. Li means li, I am. Okay, li, Leon, li means I am in Arabic. Yeah, you know that you are very familiar with the word li. In Arabic, li means for me, mine. It is called li. Then you have the word alayya, means upon me. So now when I say haqqun alayya means the haqq is upon me, meaning I have to prepare, I have to perform. So it becomes what? Obligation. So whenever the word haqqun alayya comes, it refers to obligation. And whenever the word haqqun li comes, haqq li comes, then it refers to rights. This is what we understood in English, the word rights. So now, if you understood this, all right, rights and obligation, then you don't have any problem, because the word hukuk referring to both of them, but it depending on the for example, it depends. For example, there is a haqq over a person, there is a haqq over a property, right? So now you in English also we want to use the word like over or over a property. So these are the places where we will understand whether it is referring to haqqun li or haqqun alayya, right? Alayka, alayya means upon me, alayka means upon you. For example, Prophet said, inna alayka inna ala aynika alayka haqqun. Prophet said this. Inna ala jasadika alayka haqqun. Prophet said this. He said that, you know, even though you have your own eyes, ayn means eyes. Even though you have your own eyes, there are certain rights, there are certain obligation upon you to take care of your eye. There are certain obligations upon you that you need to take care of your body. Because this body, the entire part of the body, it has given to you as an amana. You will be asked. You cannot say, it is my body, I can do whatever it is. It is my eye, so what's the problem? It is my hand, so who are you to talk about it? No, it is not yours. It has given as an amana. Allah has given you as an amana, and you need to take care of it. You need to protect it. If I use my eye in the wrong thing, if I use my hand in the wrong thing, tomorrow I need to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I need to answer to Allah. That's the reason why Prophet ﷺ said you need to take care of your heart and your body and your eye and entire body, because later tomorrow they will go against you. This is where in Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, in judgment day, in the day of Qiyamah, in the judgment day, my body will go against me, except my tongue, because tongue is the thing always go for, tongue is the thing that always lie, isn't it? So did you do that? My tongue will say, no, I didn't do that. That's the reason why the other day, I mean the Qiyamah, the tongue will never speak. The other body parts will speak. Quran says this. My hand will say, yeah, this man used me to do certain things, the wrong things. My leg will say, my leg will talk to Allah. My leg will say that yes, this man used me to go to certain places, the prohibited places. My stomach, my eye will tell, yeah, this person washed this. So these are the things, my whole body. So that's the reason why Prophet ﷺ said, inna alayka, inna ala aynika alayka haqqun. Similarly, it goes to the people also, the family, the parents, the wife, the neighbor, the subject, entirely. There are, let's say, if you are the leader of the country, ra'i, right? You kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. So everyone is responsible, and then everyone will be asked about their responsibility. So now, if Allah will ask about my responsibility, it is my obligation. If Allah asks others regarding me, then it is my rights. Let's say if my parent didn't give me the sustenance, then Allah will ask the parents why they didn't give me the sustenance, they didn't give me the accommodation, they didn't give me. Then it is my rights. That's the reason why it is your right to. So they will say, this is your right to do this. This is your right to take this. Go and take this, your right. For example, when we are voting for election, they say it is your right. It is your right that you need to, go and forward. So there are several things. So this is what actually we are going to talk about today, starting from definition, and then we go to the pillars of rights. What are the pillars? Pillars, the names and most important elements of rights. Then we go to the classification of rights. Then we talk about the rights of Allah, the rights of human, and then we talk about financial and non-financial rights, and then we talk about rights over a person and rights over a property, and then rights can be waived. Some of them can be waived, some of them cannot be waived. And then we have the heritable and non-heritable rights. Some of the rights might come from your father, from your grandfather. So these are heritable. Some of them is non-heritable. And then finally, we will discuss about, generally we discuss about the abuse of rights. There are so many places we will do that. So what is it, misuse and abuse of rights? So this is the course, this is the class outline for you. Let's start with the introduction. Like I told you earlier, the introduction. Islam has imposed various types of rights and obligations on every human being. A person should fulfill his obligations towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards his own self, nafs, towards other members of the society, and towards the physical nature and the environment. So if you notice the word carefully, you will understand, first of all, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you see, this is what we are the ubudiyah. What is the ubudiyah? Because we are all slaves to the creator. This is the first thing that need to come to our mind, because we are all a creation, and there is a creator, and who created us. So first of all, the existence, the profound existence, the purpose of existence is actually to worship our creator. Allah said in the Quran, فَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The reason that I created them, for what? The reason, Allah says this, the reason that I created the jinn and I created the humans, so that they can worship me. So that is so the worshipping is actually in every act. The worshipping is actually, like, for example, now you are learning, it is a kind of worship. You are eating, you are drinking, you are doing all the good things, it is a kind of worship. When you are praying, it is a top way of worshipping, the topmost way of doing, the way that we can become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? Prayer. That's the reason why as-salatu mi'rajul mu'minin. Prophet said, the Prophet said that the salah, the prayer, is actually mi'raj of mu'min. What is mi'raj? Mi'raj is the thing that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he went all the way to the heaven. Prophet ﷺ went all the way to the heaven. So if you and me want to go to the heaven while we are here, the only way that we can do through prayers. When I say Allahu Akbar and then I started reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, the moment that I'm doing it, I'm concentrating, I'm trying to see that Allah is watching me. I'm trying to see actually I'm watching Allah. So when I say Allahu Akbar and then I started praying, this is what every Muslim, that when they do prayer, they just started thinking, yes, I'm watching Allah. If I cannot do that, if I cannot watch Allah, at least I think, at least I feel, at least I realize that Allah is watching me. It's like a CCTV. There is a CCTV. When there is a CCTV in a hall, we always behave because there is a CCTV. The biggest CCTV is actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He is watching from every corner. He doesn't, he cannot be excused. He cannot be, he cannot be hidden. He can watch through everything. He can understand everything. That's the reason why He is a creator. He is above all. He is a creator. He can understand. Even He can see what we think inside. Lillahi ma fi samawati wa ma fil ardi wa in tubdu ma fi anfusikum aw tukhfuhu yuhasibukum bihillah. So when Sahaba, when companions of the Prophet, they came to know that, you know, this ayah, they frustrated, they terrorized. You know, they frightened. They said, "Oh Prophet, how are we supposed to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what we think?" Because the Quranic verse says, "Wa in tubdu ma fi anfusikum aw tukhfuhu yuhasibukum bihillah." Whatever that you think, even you are thinking, you know, sometimes we imagine. Because you see, most of the time what we do? Imagination. Even sometimes when we are at the classroom, we started thinking about this, thinking about that. What happened here? What happened there? Why he is like that? Why she is like this? So this is how we always think, imagination. Allah says, even whatever that you imagine, let's say if I imagine wrong, then I need to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reason why companions, the Prophet, the Sahaba, they all frightened. They said, Ya Rasulullah, how are we supposed to stop it? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, they said, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah is not going to keep you work or something, keep you the burden more than that what you cannot. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Illa wus'aha means the level that I can do, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do. There is a level, if there is a level, there is something beyond me, there is something that I cannot control, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiving that. Alright, so that's the reason why the first thing is actually obligation towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reason why we've been created. Allah has created us. Then the second thing is actually towards His own self, my own nafs. I need to take care of my body. I need to take care of my heart, my thinking, my life, and everything. Towards other members, then it goes to other members, starting from family, starting from your own children, and then your wife, and then your family, and then your neighbors, and then your society. Yes. Then don't forget the last one, towards the physical nature and the environment. This is the bi'ah. So you have hablu min Allah, hablu min nas, and hablu min al-bi'ah. So this is the physical nature and environment. Also, you have the right. Can I just cut the tree? Can I just break the mountain? Can I just go and drop everything, dump everything into the sea? Can I just throw the plastic? Subhanallah, I have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why, I used to say this, when I'm drinking water, I'm paying 1 ringgit to buy a water can, and then I'm drinking it. I finished drinking, but remember, I didn't pay for the water, I pay for the container. Because water is free. Water is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives, it's free. Nobody create water. Nobody has a recipe to create water. Because of course the reason we are paying for 1 ringgit or 2 ringgit, we are paying for the container, we are paying for the plastic, we are paying for the transportation, we are paying for, you know, the service. So now I drink, of course it's free water, but I throw the plastic because I bought it for 1 ringgit or 2 ringgit, and then I'm throwing that plastic, and that plastic is actually causing the problems to the world, to the universe, to the nature. You know what, how problem it is, because for hundreds and hundreds and 100 years the plastic is going to be there. It's going to become landfill. The landfill will cause the earth, right? And then if it goes to the sea, if it goes to the lake, it causes the life in the sea, the life in the earth, the life everywhere. So now if I do that, I have to be very careful, because they also have the rights. If I don't, if I harm them, tomorrow the tree will come and complain. The birds will come and complain. The fish will come and complain. So how am I supposed to do that? So I need to change my life, and then I need to use my water. Like I need to carry my water bottle, not bottle. It's not plastic. It's steel or bottle, whatever it is. You have glasses or you are steel. Yeah, we need to change it. We need to change our life, because we have to answer. So this is what we have here. It's called towards the physical nature and the environment. He should obey Allah's laws that imposes these obligations on him, and at the same time entitles him to certain rights. So these are obligations that we towards Allah, our own self, our other members of the society, the family and most society, and then the nature. At the same time, he should obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laws, and then there are also some entitles, some rights that he can entitle. So haq literally means proper right. This is the definition. Let's go to the definition. Yes, Leon.
Sorry, can you have answer? Could
Yes.
I say that based on my understanding now, can I say that I provide an example and you see either is correct or not.
Yeah, sure.
So the first one is, it is the right for every Muslim to have a worship in a public mosque, and also it is the obligation for the admin to keep the cleanness of the mosque, of the public mosque. Is it correct?
Yes, of course. If you are using a place for worship, you have to keep it clean, of course, because this is your right, and that's the reason why you cannot. I mean, it's not only the masjid; it's everywhere. You know, when it comes to cleaning, not necessarily it has to be only the masjid. And then number two, you need to also understand, Muslims are obliged. I mean, the prayer is obligatory, but not necessarily it has to be in public mosque all the time. They can also pray at home.
Yes.
It is preferred. It is preferred to pray in jama'ah. Jama'ah means it is called, you know, the prayer, congregational prayer. And then they pray 5 times a day. And then there is a system that they have. They have azan. Azan means the call. And then there is a iqama. Iqama means the prayer time. And then they go to that time and then they pray together. It is actually, of course, there is a ruling. It is called fard kifaya, and someone has to definitely has to follow the jama'ah. But not necessary everyone only they can pray in the masjid, because for this ummah, every place, the entire universe is actually made available for prayer, except the places like where there is a dirty. Right? The dirty places you cannot go and pray, but if there is any place, the public place, or even in the public places also, it is allowed to pray, as long as you are not disturbing the public. Yeah.
Oh, so,
Yeah.
actually, what I mean is, it's the right for every Muslim. What I mean is, you cannot block him or her because it is her or him right. Am I right?
Exactly.
And another more contrast example is like the customer and the supplier, right? It is the right for the customer get the best service from like living in a hotel, and it is the
Exactly.
obligation for the admin to keep their customer safety.
Exactly.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
when the customer, for example, when I became the customer and you are the accommodation provider, then of course there is an agreement between us. So I paid for certain things, and then now I have all the rights, because since I registered, or I subscribed your service for certain amount of money, then I have all the rights. I entitled to go for in your hotel. I have all the rights to go for morning breakfast, and then the swimming pool, the gym, the other services like the room services, for example, the parking lot, for example. So these are the rights that I have entitled. But since I'm the customer, but you are the accommodation provider, you are the owner of the lodge or the hotel, then you have obligations to provide me all this. So now in your part it is obligation, in my part it is rights. Okay, so haq literally means proper right, true, authentic, valid, established, a just claim confirmed as a truth, duty, or an obligation. The jurists define haq. The definition is a prescription acknowledged by the Sharia that gives authority or right and assigns responsibility or duty. This is what I said. You have things, Sharia is actually because this is hukuk, and all these rights is actually Sharia is actually prescribing, right? And then when it comes to gives authority or rights, and then when it comes to assigns responsibility or a duty, now you can understand that it has the meaning of both sides, whether it is entitling the rights or offering the obligations. This definition includes both the rights of Allah and the rights of humans. The source that confers the right or imposes an obligation is Sharia. Okay? Sharia is the one what, like I told you, prescribing these rights or imposing the rights. The owner of the right, it is called. Okay, now let's move to the pillars of right. There are 3 pillars of right. Number 1 is called Sahib al-Haq. Sahib al-Haq means the owner of the right, which could be Allah, which could be human, which could be institution. Okay, for example, in our case, just now the example that I gave it to you, Leon, I am the owner of the right, meaning Sahib al-Haq means I am the person who stays in your hotel. So I am the owner of the rights, Sahib al-Haq. All right. Then the subject, the Mahal al-Haq. The second one is the subject on which our right is exercised. For example, debt or property. In the example that we talked, it's your hotel. Your hotel become what? The subject. And then number 3, the person who is under the obligation. Man alayhi al-haq. Example, the borrower is under obligation to return his debt. So in our example, you are the person number 3, because the person who is under the obligation. So we need to say the hotel owner. The hotel owner has obligation. The hotel owner has he has to make sure that I get the rights. I entitle the rights. So in this example, I became, because as a visitor, as a customer, I became Sahib al-Haq. And then you become what? You become the man alayhi al-haq, the person who is under the obligation, because you are the hotel owner. And then the hotel itself become what? The subject. All right. The same thing goes to money, borrowing money. All right. If the borrower becomes man alayhi al-haq, the one who gives the money, the one who lending money, the lender becomes Sahib al-Haq, and then the money becomes the subject. All right. For example, the bank becomes what? The bank become, because the bank offer you money, give you the loan, the bank become what? Sahibul Haq. And then when the bank gives you the money and you become what? You become man alayhi haq, the person who is under the obligation, because you have to pay back. And then the money itself become the subject. Mahal al-haq. Okay, now we are going to the classification of rights. So there are certain classifications, like we talked about it earlier, classification of property. Similarly, here also we have the classification of rights. So we are going to talk about 5 of them. Rights can be classified in different ways. The right of Allah and the rights of humans. And then we will talk about financial and non-financial rights. Number 3, rights over a person and rights over a property. Number 4, rights can be waived and those that cannot be waived. Number 5, heritable and non-heritable rights. And this is the first one. The rights of Allah. What are the rights of Allah? They refer to rights that He has upon His creatures. The rights of Allah are divided into 2 main groups. Number 1, exclusive rights. For example, exclusive rights of Allah include His right on human being to worship Him, to obey His laws, and to pay zakat and penances. Example, obey commands and avoid prohibitions. Rights which are intended for public interest and are not specifically assigned to any individual. These are called the rights of Allah as they are beneficial to the community or the public at large. Example, mineral wealth, rivers, forest, etc. So here you can understand that when we talk about the rights of Allah, there is something that exclusively that we have to do for Allah. And there are something that which is not exclusively for Allah, but by doing that also we are doing for Allah, but we are doing it in public interest. That's why the first category, under the rights of Allah, the first category, which is actually, if you go and worship Him in the, like you said, in the masjid or at home or wherever it is, and then you obey His all the laws, the halal and haram, you obey. And then you also pay zakat because Allah asked you to pay. Even though you are paying zakat to the people, but you are doing it because Allah asked you to pay. And you are doing the hajj because Allah asked you to do the hajj, because that's the reason why you are going to Mecca, right? And for example, tomorrow you are going to do the fasting. Fasting, you are doing it for Allah. So you are doing it for Allah because Allah asked you to do that. So these are the exclusive rights that actually, these are the things that Allah has these rights. Allah has, because Allah has created us. Allah has created us. So He requires from us all these things. The other thing is actually, also we can call rights of Allah, which is actually public interest, not specifically assigned to any individual. These are called the rights of Allah as they are beneficial to the community. For example, you have the mineral wealth, the rivers, forest, including, the fire, including the water. All this common good, we call it. The public goods, we call it. All this is actually equally, it is belong to everybody. Right? So by maintaining this, by making sure that everyone is actually getting it properly, this is actually we are actually fulfilling the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is upon us, it's obligatory upon us. It is obligatory upon us that I have to pray. It is obligatory upon me, I have to do fasting. That's why it comes under exclusive rights of Allah. And then it is also obligatory on me that I should not abuse the minerals. I should not abuse the river. I should not abuse the forest. This is also comes under the rights of Allah because Allah is the one who created it. And He created it for everybody. It's like this. There is a house. My father left the house, and we are five children, and only the first one take the house. So now the house is actually, of course, the house was belongs to my father. It is still belong to my father, but now I just took the house, but not the other four siblings. So now my father has the right. And you understand now? My father has the right because my father is actually wanted to give it to everybody. So now all my obligatory is what? As a first son, my obligatory is that I need to make sure that everybody get their own share. Everybody get it. Similarly, it goes to the politicians. Similarly, it goes to the government. Any institute that running this, so they need to make sure. That's why equality, equity is all very important when it comes to, because it is all dealing with the rights of Allah, right? So let's talk about the specification of Allah, right? The right of Allah cannot be abolished.
Sir.
Yes, Leon.
Oh, sir, sorry to cut you off. Just now, sir, you said that so the exclusive right is, in the simplest word, is like the obligation, right?
Yeah.
Like we have to do, like, to obey the command and also to avoid the prohibition, because Allah has the right to ask all the Muslim to do anything for him. Am I right?
Exactly. You're right.
And for the public interest is something like although I'm the, how to say, like, not where it's like people cannot say that, oh, it is my right to own this river, it is my right to own this public interest, because public interest is created by the Allah, it is belong to everyone. You cannot say it is my right to have this for this thing. Am I right?
Exactly. See, for example, the country for everyone, right? For example, the country is for everyone. That's why this rights, it doesn't see who comes and who doesn't come. It sees that it belongs to everybody. So the country, for example, the country and the resources of the country for everyone is because Allah, the Creator, has given to every one of us. Allah didn't say that, okay, only you people use it. Allah didn't say that, okay, only this group will use it. Allah didn't say that only this group, this family will use it. Allah didn't say that. Allah gave it to for everybody. It is, He created it. The Creator, the God, created this, and then He gave it to everybody. That's why when someone is actually, involving in bribe, and the raswa, when someone is actually in corruption, don't think that he only abused the people's right. Before he started abusing the people's rights, he is actually abusing the Allah's right, the Creator's right. That's why stealing is haram. Why do you think stealing is haram? Why do you think robbery is haram? It is haram because it is not because you are abusing the people's money. You are abusing someone's money, some particular person's money. It's because you are abusing Allah's right, the God's right. Because God given these rights for everybody, and then someone alone wants to, that's why the scam, the cheating. Why cheating is haram? The cheating is prohibited. Why? It's because Allah has given this for everybody, and then only certain group of people wanted to own it. So this is where actually we talk about the specification of Allah's right. So the right of Allah cannot be abolished. A government and the people's rights can be abolished, but Allah's right cannot be abolished ever. No person can absolve or exempt another person from his obligations towards Allah. For example, if I didn't pray, my brother cannot come and say, Ya Allah, my brother didn't pray, so I will take the responsibility. No, not possible. Similarly, if I made an abuse, I abused minerals and abused the public goods, and then my brother come and say, my brother abused the public goods, but let me take the responsibility. No, not possible. Not possible, because this is one-to-one. This is Allah's rights. So no person can absolve or exempt another person from his obligation towards Allah. But it is opposite. For example, you borrow from me, let's say 1,000 ringgit, and then your brother come and say, okay, my brother borrowed from you 1,000 ringgit, let me pay you back. It is possible. You understand? It is possible because it's a human rights within the human. For example, my father borrowed 1,000 ringgit from a bank and then he was not able to pay. Then I go there and I say, okay, I will be paying on behalf of my father. Yes, it is possible because it is a particularly debt. We call it debt. This debt can be transferred. But when someone is actually abusing the people's good, people's common goods, this is what today is happening. And those kind of people, subhanallah, that's why you have to be very, very, very careful when you are in politics. Because in politics, you are dealing with people's public goods. It is not that easy. That's why it is better to run away from the politics rather than being in the politics and then you become the sinner. I agree. But the problem here is nowadays it comes with so many packages and then people easily look into it and then go for it and then they take it easily and then they own it easily. If there is a land, nobody is under, if it is under nobody's name, and then the politician wants to make the land on his own name. This is what's happening in the world. So what happens at the moment that I go into the politics and then these kind of things comes, and that's it. Because I'm actually facing Allah's right, not people's right only. Now, when I go there, when I go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will be asking, who gave you the right to own my place? The place that I gave it to everybody. The lake, I gave it to everybody. This is the reason why in Sharia, no one should own lands. The islands. No one should own mountains. This is the reason why. Prophet ﷺ said, there are three things that no one can own. It's for everybody. Prophet said, it is water, it is fire, it is grass. Grass means he meant forest. So all the forest, it is the resources for everybody. The water, the sea water or the river water is the resources for everybody. The fire, even the fire is resources for everybody. Today, fire, those days fire, the fire cannot be owned. It has the lights, for example, what he meant is actually lights. Today, it could be interpreted as an electricity or as a fuel. It could be introduced. It could be, so many ways it could be interpreted. So this is what, because these are the public goods, and if someone is in charge, he has to be very, very careful. If not, he has to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because of the people, because he deals with Allah's right. So here you understand, the rights of Allah cannot be inherited. Example, heirs are not obliged to fulfill an act of worship such as prayer, which the deceased did not perform. I cannot say to Allah, my father didn't pray, so let me pray. Cannot do that. The offender who repeatedly violates the rights of Allah is punished once. Example, a person who has committed theft many times is punished once. This is what happens. Even though he do many times, he will be punished once. The enforcement of the rights of Allah is the duty of the state. Remember this. Like I told you, the enforcement, whether it is the praying, whether it is the public goods, protecting the public goods, it comes under the duty of the state. So the one who is in the state, the statesman should make sure that all these rights are protected. Right? The rights of humans. Now let's talk about the hukukun nas. We talked about the hukukullah. Now hukukun nas, the rights of humans. They refer to those rights which are intended for the protection of private interest. See, earlier I talked about the public interest. That's why I said no one can actually go and then own the places like everybody using it. But here we are talking about the private interest. For example, I gave you the example just now. If someone borrow 1,000 ringgit and the other person comes and says, okay, I will take care of this 1,000 ringgit, which is possible because it is private interest. So they refer to those rights which are intended for the protection of private interest. These interests can be generally, example, all human beings are entitled to the protection of their religion, life, property, health, and honor. This is, I think you remember that we discussed in Maqasid Sharia. And they also can be specific, like In a sale contractor, purchaser has a right to own the object which he has bought, and seller is entitled to receive the price. So this is where actually we are bringing our transaction, our field economics, the buying and selling, the trade. When there is a trade going on, the trade will be subject matter, and then the one who trade, who give, he has the right to get the price, and then the other guy, the buyer has obligatory to pay the price. Right. So now the sale contract, purchaser has a right to own the object which he has bought, and seller is entitled to receive the price. What are the specifications of human rights? This is actually, you can say rights of human. Maybe we say human right, but it's better to say rights of human. The enforcement of the rights of human are entirely at the option of the individual who have them. He may demand his right or waive them. It is up to you totally. For example, you borrow from me 1,000 ringgit. You promised me you will pay after 1 month, but I felt like it's okay, you don't have to pay. So I said, okay, you don't have to pay me 1,000 ringgit. It is up to me, totally up to me. I can waive. The bank also, similarly, the bank also, they also can waive. Sometimes they say, okay, you got this education loan, you are supposed to pay this. Okay, we exempt you from paying the loans, or we deduct this percentage from the loan. Of course, they can do that. Similarly, the rights of shufa also the same thing. The right of shufa that I told you earlier. If my neighbor say that it's okay, I leave my, I don't have, you don't have to ask me when you are selling this house or this land, or the partners also can leave that rights, the right of shufa. The offender of private rights is punished as many times as the rights is violated. See here the difference between the previous one and this one. Previously we talked about that it will be punished once. Of course, Allah will punish him entirely in the hereafter. He will punish him once. But this one we talk about it here is actually we talk about the life here in this world. Every time someone offend, he has to be punished. So every time someone cheat, every time someone did the wrong transaction, someone didn't pay back, every time they do that, every time they have to be punished. Person can exempt another person from his obligation towards him. Example, a seller may exempt a purchaser from paying the price, or a wife may exempt her husband paying him paying him a dower. It's called mahar, right? Because in Islam there is a mahar. The husband, before the marriage, he has to pay dower. It's called mahar to the female, to the bride. So the groom has to pay certain amount to the bride. Then only he can actually get permission, and then he can get married. So now at the same time the wife also can exempt. The wife, if the wife sees that okay, I can understand, you don't have to pay me the mahar, or you can reduce the mahar, it is up to the wife. Right? So these are the specification of human rights. What exactly the difference? Here we are going to talk about the difference between the rights of Allah and the rights of humans, and also we are going to talk about there are certain things that were combined. The combined rights is also very important. There are certain things where actually both of the things, like humans, rights of human and the rights of Allah, combined together. So first of all, what are the distinction between the rights of Allah and the rights of humans? The rights of Allah cannot be exempted. For example, no one could exempt anyone else from obligatory prayers or from the payment of zakat. So it's very clear. In contrast, a seller may exempt a purchaser from paying the price, or a creditor may exempt a debtor from paying the debt. So now you can understand the first difference between Allah's right and rights of Allah and rights of human is the exemption. All right, in the rights of Allah, exemption cannot be made, cannot be exempted, but in the rights of humans, the rights can be exempted. Okay, these are the differences. Now we are going to talk about the combined rights. What I mean by the combined rights, it is called haq al-mushtarak. These are the few places actually the rights of Allah and the rights of humans comes together. Those rights where the rights of Allah and those humans are combined together. So these are the few examples that I give you. Let me explain. This is what we call slander or defamation. In Arabic it is called qadhf. And then there is a retaliation. In Arabic it is called qisas. The family of a murder victim has a right to either retaliating qisas or blood money diya. And the person who is defamed has a right to reach to a settlement with the slanderer. Okay, here why we call it, for example, let's talk about qisas, then I'll talk to you about qadhf. Qisas mean what? Qisas is something, it is not something new. It is always there. If someone intentionally killed someone, if murder is actually proven that it is a planned murder and also it is a first degree murder, of course there is a what they call it, there is a qisas. So now if you look into the practice of qisas, because if someone killed someone, he must be killed. And if the killing is intention, it is not mistake. If it is mistake, if it is not planned, if it is an accident, is a different story. We don't call it first degree murder. If it is not intended, if it is an accident, then we will call it second degree murder. All right. According to the Western legal system, also it is called the second degree murder. But here we are talking about the first degree murder. If someone killed someone, then he must be killed. The largest democracy in the world, which is America, United States of America, still practicing this law. So it is not something that we always say qisas is actually a very tough legislation. It is a hudud. When we talk about hudud, these are the topics always come, and then people discussing about these topics, and then sometimes they show Islam is actually a cruel religion, which is not. And they say that Islam has the very tough. Islam has, because Islam doesn't think from the perspective of the murderer. Islam thinks from the perspective of the family who lost a soul. Because when I am the person who lost a family member, then what's going on with me? Because I need a justice. So qisas is a kind of justice, right? That's the reason why the country like even United States until today, they are practicing this law. If it is a first degree murder, the punishment is actually hanging. The punishment is actually killing. It's a murder. Punishment is murder. So of course it is a killing for killing. So now when it comes to qisas, here when we talk about our course here, the hukukun nas, hukukullah, in these you can see that hukukullah and hukukun nas, both of them are combining. How it is combining? Because Allah is the one who legislated this law. Allah said, in fact, Allah said, Inna fil qisasi hayatun. Subhanallah. Allah said this, Allah said this, of course, this qisas is obligatory. You have to perform this qisas. At the same time, if you are performing this qisas, then there is a hayat. Allah says, inna fil qisasi hayatun. There is a hayat. Because when people see this qisas is happening, when people see the punishment is happening, no one will dare to kill someone. Whatever the problem is, no one will dare, because they will know, oh, if I kill someone, definitely I will be killed. When you give that kind of impression, that kind of fear, no one will dare to kill anyone. But if you say, okay, in this country you can kill anybody, but don't worry, we don't kill you back. We just give you a very good life settlement in the prison. You can live there and you can do all the work. You can even earn money. We can give you all sort of facilities in the prison. Then definitely there will be few people among, not everyone, but among them few people, they will say, okay, I will kill someone, because the punishment is just go to the prison. It's okay, I can stay in prison rather than I stay here, because in prison I get free food. Right? Some of them might think, not necessarily everybody think, maybe most of them they don't think, but some of them might think that, because we have different kind of people. Some of them having issues earning, so they will kill someone for something, maybe they get something and then they go to the prison. So now when there is a rule, punishment, say, okay, if you kill someone, you will be killed. This is qisas we are talking. This is the topic that most of the people, they don't want to talk. This is the thing, because Allah has given this. This is Sharia. This is Sharia. Because Sharia wants to protect everybody's life. If there is no strong institution like this, then the life of a human being will be at chaos. But the life of human being, will be taken as granted and then taken not serious. Then you will see more crimes, right? So that's why here we talk about qisas. When you talk about qisas, there is one thing that Allah is the one who actually legislated. He actually brought this. He brought this, and then he said, okay, this is where you have to practice this. At the same time, it is also hukukun nas. It is also hukukun nas, because this is we are talking about here. A family member is actually wanted to get this qisas going. So this is in between human being. So this is for the first degree murder. If it is a second degree murder, which is actually not planned, it is actually a mistake, then the family, if the family has to be paid, like for example, we call blood money, diya. So the diya is actually different according to the jurist. Sometimes even it goes to 100 camels. Today it could be different. So you have to pay back to the family for the loss, because I know it's an accident. Maybe today we have insurance coverage. Things comes like that. Similarly, it goes to qadhaf. Qadhaf is actually defamation. Defamation means what? You suddenly you said someone is actually doing the wrong thing. This is also happening. Now it's happening in a different way. Last time, people used to call and used to talk in front of everybody. They say, okay, this man made this thing. Today, it become very easy. You know why? Because we have social media. In the social media, we are practicing this. Many people practicing this. Suddenly they put somebody's face, somebody's photo, and then saying that, she did something like this, or he did something bad like this. This is called defamation. Defamation is actually haram. Do you know? Defamation has a hudud. If someone defamed, he must be punished according to Sharia. If that rule is there, nobody will simply do that, because Sharia is looking into the perspective of those innocent people, not from the doer, not from the person who did, the person upon whom it was done. So now the family is devastated because of the family saw the photo of their daughter in social media, and then the social media is actually defaming her, which is actually sometimes even fake news. The fake news also it comes under defamation. All right. So these are the things like we have combined rights. And then we talked about, before this, we talked about the hukukun nas, the rights of human. And then before that, we talked about the hukukullah, which is actually rights of Allah. So I think with this, I finish. The next one we'll talk in the next class.
So,
Yes, please.